Hello everyone, Charlie Veitch here. We're outside Manchester's Town Hall, the seat of power. And today, we're going to talk about good power versus bad power. And what I mean by good power versus bad power is, to me, good power is power which has rules, power which is part of a game that is transparent, that you can look at, you can challenge it, you can use your free speech to criticize it, versus, for example, Russian power, or Saudi Arabian power, or Chinese power, which is very paranoid about free speech. It sees the West as, instead of being liberal and successful, they see the West as being decadent and poisoned by such things as liberalism, gay rights, you know, love of free speech. You know, I guess some countries are fearful of that. But you can't really talk about power in the world right now without talking about what's happening in Ukraine, namely Luhansk and Donetsk in the east of Ukraine. And we're seeing Vladimir Putin sending thousands after thousands of soldiers into a neighboring sovereign country that's already chosen to be part of the European Union. It wants to be part of NATO. They want that European freedom-loving way of being, but Russia, the Russian bear, come on, let's talk about individuals here. It's Vladimir Putin. He's saying no, 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 no. And he has killed over 2,600 civilians to maintain his geopolitical access to the Black Sea, which he wants. He wants the port of Mariupol. And I want everyone that watches the news to just think a little bit about the difference between if you acted the way I act in, say, Russia or Saudi, how I would be treated. I've done videos making fun of the police. I push free speech to its boundaries. I did a satire video pretending to be a resistance fighter, asking the world to donate me weapons and ammunition, you know, like we used to do for the Syrians before that all went tits up. And I've been respected. Every time I've been arrested, it's been literally 20 hours, 25 hours. I haven't been disappeared into the gulags in Siberia, and I think that's very important. I have first-hand empirical data that the West is still, even with all our paranoia about terrorism, is still quite healthy on a fundamental psychological level. And it does upset me, you know, we do seem to be a bit, what's the word, impotent to stop Russian aggression. I mean, what have we done in the West? We've put more NATO planes in Estonia and Latvia and Poland. But it's almost as if now nobody's going to challenge the Russians. You know, go in there, kill your civilians, fight the West. And because it's almost like when you're dealing with Vladimir Putin, you're dealing with your drunken racist uncle at a Christmas party. You have to kind of not punch him in the face, but kind of try and ignore him or appease him. And you know, appeasement is something which hasn't done the West very good in the past. You know, when you appease madly insane regimes like the Third Reich, when you try and bring peace, when you try and appease, it doesn't work. They just get bigger and worse. And like the West has kind of learnt this a little bit, which is why we've had 500 US airstrikes against the Islamic State. But I just want the viewer to maybe have an opinion. What do we do about East Ukraine? Do we just say, well, fuck the rights of the people that live there, let Russia take, I mean, they've taken Crimea, should we let the Russians have the east of Ukraine? And this is the thing, this is the great political gamble that Vladimir Putin is doing. He is happy to sacrifice his own soldiers in a clandestine manner, happy to kill Ukrainian citizens by the thousand, as long as Russia can control that channel, that coastline along the Black Sea for his fleet to go through. And it's geopolitics at its worst. You know, you got the Russians on television lying, happy to lie, just like the old Soviet days. Yeah, the crops are fine, we can feed everyone. And nowadays it's like, no, there are no Russian troops in East Ukraine. And you know, the big elephant in the room, the big massive elephant in the room is the shooting down of that Malaysian airline MH17 by pro-Russian rebels, been given the world's most powerful anti-aircraft technology. And what do? They go and blow up 300 civilians in one go. And if that isn't enough reason for us to know that something very serious has to be done about this situation, I don't know what is. And here's the horrible thing about power. It has to be long-term, it has to be far-reaching, it has to be clever. We can't just send in, you know, soldiers into East Ukraine. You can't send in NATO soldiers. The Russians would go mad, probably fire nukes, because there's something in history about regimes which used to be powerful and are now resurging. Like Germany used to be powerful, World War I ruined them, the Treaty of Versailles ruined them, you know, they had to pay reparations, it ruined the German economy, and along comes Hitler and they become super powerful again. Russia's the exact same story. The Soviet Union collapses, they all turn into third world, you know, peasants, and now we have a resurgent Russia. Instead of Hitler, it's Vladimir Putin. And let's be honest about Russia. Russia is basically a gas company with a military attached. And what pisses me off the most, and pisses me off and makes me angry, is that just over there, 300 meters over there, there's a Jewish soap shop. Nothing to do with Israeli soldiers. Jewish soap shop being boycotted with angry protesters trying to shut it down. Whereas right now in Ukraine, many more civilians have been killed. And there's a Gazprom office there in Spinningfields. You don't see any protesters going to go and boycott Russian products because, and let's just tell the truth here, with Russia, unfortunately, there's no Jewish people to shout at. And there's something that's been recurring throughout protests, throughout resistance groups, within paranoia, within conspiracy theory, is that the Jews are behind it all, and it's nonsense. And I've befriended so many Jewish people in the last 6 weeks trying to defend that shop. And you speak to them about their families, you speak to them about the aspirations they have for their families. And I hate to say this, ladies and gentlemen, they're exactly like you and I. Exactly like you and I, Judeo-Christian, love of individual, love of life, and they just want to have... We even got a fucker right in the pussy. Thank you! We even got a fucker right in the pussy. I hope you know that meme. We got one. We got a real one. Did you catch that? That's thrown me off now. Anyway, yes, look. You should protest if something's very important, but on another angle, protest is dead. It's kind of like moaning at the end of the day. Oh, I've lost, let's go protest. And what angers me is the way that Jewish people, even still in 2014, this isn't 1943, they're still demonized as if they're a different bloody race. Well, different species, shall we say. And it just upsets me that Jewish people still have to put out these statements. We are not evil. We are not horned devils. We are not monsters. We're just people like you and I. When in fact, all around the world, regimes like Putin's regime killing a lot more civilians. And where's the complaining, guys? Where's the complaining? This message comes for you. Charlie Veitch, Mossad agent, Zionist agent, paid 100 million by the police each year to say this, obviously. And that's all I have to say. And let's pan out to the sky.